Thanks for joining this morning or afternoon. Sorry, yeah, we're depending where you are. So this is the public square that we host at the Sandra Day O'Connor Institute. This is really an opportunity for all of you to discuss, a civics issue. And today you can see the topic we're going to be talking about, which is AI and civic life. Who gets a voice? This is a really broad conversation. I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah, let's go to the next slide if we can. So before we start, we always like to sort of kind of set the base level here of who we are and our core values. So the Sandra Day O'Connor Institute, we are the nonprofit organization that was founded by Justice Sandra Day O'Connor after her retirement from the Supreme Court. And you can see here our core values. Civil, collaborative, fact-based, inclusive, nonpartisan, and objective. And civil discourse is really a core pillar for us. So while we love to have conversations that are sort of really rich and people disagreeing, we always ask that, as Justice O'Connor herself said, that we disagree without being disagreeable. And we never have problems with that, but we just like to kind of set that sort of base level at the beginning. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, that's me. I'm Liam. I'm the Chief of Programs and Public Policy at the Institute. And next slide. Okay. And before we get started, I also wanted just some of you joined the Public Square through our app, but if you didn't, I wanted to make sure that you knew about it. We have an app. It's Civics for Life community app. And there is just, it's such a rich, if you go on there, there's so many different resources. There's lots of conversations happening about all kinds of civics topics. There's, history. There's podcasts. Really, I would check it out. I would download it. And of course, also let us know what you think. If there's stuff on the app, we have a book club you can join. But if there's stuff on the app where you think we could be doing more, or there's something that's not there that you would like to see, please let us know because we're always trying to improve this and make it better for you guys. Okay, so let's jump in. AI. I think this is such a broad topic, and I kind of want to sort of follow wherever you all want to go. Just to be clear, I'm not. This is not a presentation. It's a public square, so it's a conversation led by you. I will just sort of say maybe a good way to sort of kick it off would be to have people share sort of their own experiences with AI. How is it starting to sort of be used in your life, impact your life? How do you use it? How would you like to use it? Those kind of questions, and we can kind of maybe go from there. Certainly, it's impacting a lot of things. So, but maybe start at that personal level. Anyone have anything they'd like to share about that? No, I think so. Yes, Jennifer. Yeah. Oh, and I should say too, if you do want to share or whatever, I can't see everybody, so you can just go ahead and come off mute and talk. There's also down at the bottom in the React, you can sort of raise your virtual hand, and if you do that, I should be able to see you. But if you're raising your hand and I can't see you, go ahead and just go ahead and talk. Go ahead, Jennifer. Sorry.
Hi, everybody. I head advocacy for the League of Women Voters of Connecticut. And my main passion at the moment is AI and elections and how AI influences the outcome of elections. That's it.
Well, yeah, that's a big issue, and we, of course, at the O'Connor Institute, we're nonpartisan, so we're quite concerned about how this is playing out. Jennifer, do you want to elaborate a little bit? What have you been seeing, and what are your concerns?
We're trying to pass a bill in Connecticut that would require disclaimers on any image, audio, video, or any text that is generated by AI and intended to influence elections.
Hmm. Okay. Um, how do you know what's generated by AI? This has become a. Have you guys talked about that a little bit in Connecticut? Sort of how do you determine what gets the disclaimer and what doesn't?
That is the thorn because our media organizations, satellite companies, broadcasters, etc., claim they don't have forensic staff to identify deep fakes. So then the onus becomes upon them to require anyone purchasing ad space to have an attestation that none of their material includes AI. That is legislation that has not passed yet, but I'm working on it. And I would love to hear from others on their own personal passions.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jennifer. Really good framing there. Go ahead, David.
You can hear me?
We can. Yes.
All right. I live in the city of Chester near Philadelphia, environmental justice or environmental genocide community. First off, let me remember what I got from reading Ted Goya. Basically, three guidelines minimally we should have for AI. And yeah, I agree with Jennifer. The social media is bad enough in influencing elections and lying, and now we're going to have AI without restrictions. It's insane. But they're spending billions of dollars for AI data centers. They can spend $1 million to go and figure out what is generated by AI. I think some of the large language models are already doing that by putting the info in the metadata as well as and or the originals. And so we need to know if stuff's coming from AI. Second thing, we need legal enforcement. Everything should be under intellectual property, copyright rules, so that authors, content creators aren't just being ripped off and put out of business, replaced by AI slop. And third, um, besides always being informed when AI is out there, we should have the option to turn it off. If I pick up a phone, I should be able to talk to a person if I want. Um, all right, those are basics. There's a few problems with AI. My understanding is, take the railroads. They put out AI has pros and cons with what's going on with the technology, but they will get stuff out of it, like the railroads. They're over investing, and there's going to be economic fallout from that. There was something else wrong. Yeah, we'll get a recession or depression out of it. And they once promised
Hmm.
Facebook and them that they would put it in as clean energy, and now
Hmm.
that promise is gone. And my biggest fear is when them putting out natural gas. I live in Pennsylvania, a
Okay.
natural gas fracking state, and that they're going to keep using that to inundate us with more
Sure.
poison. And like they want to put a liquid natural gas facility in our neighborhood.
Right.
So
Yep.
that's my main concern as far as how I use it. I get Google to give me summaries of stuff, and generally I think that's useful.
Okay.
And yeah, I think I can generally see where that it's biased. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's an important skill. Thanks, David. You laid out a lot of things there. Just to, quickly, sort of interesting, like, yes, and you talked about social media. I mean, our concern used to be, if you recall, like a few years back, the debates we were having around social media, one of the big ones was what is getting sort of promoted to you and what is being hidden. And so there was a lot of sort of political debate about which stories were amplified versus which stories were sort of, subsumed. Interestingly, now it's that's still an issue, but it's also like what is real? That's become, when you see stuff on social media, it's actually like, is this content actually like, has it happened or has it just been completely generated? And that's a tricky one that you, David and Jennifer, you both brought up. And David, thanks for bringing up the environmental issues too. I'm sure we can talk about that a little bit. Thank you, David. Cynthia, go ahead.
Okay. Uh,
Hi.
I live in Data Center Alley in Virginia.
Okay.
We have, even at this point, more data centers than any other place in the world. And I am not sure yet how that's going to affect uh, our access to electricity, how it's going to affect our water resources. It's a big concern among uh, citizens here in the state. And uh, I know they have like 600 under construction,
Hmm.
plus all the ones that have already been built. And then there are several hundred more that have been approved but hadn't started construction yet.
Yeah.
So it's just really overwhelming, because most everybody didn't really know about this until this year. I mean, all of a
Yeah.
sudden we've just been hit with it.
Yeah.
And I'm really worried about the disinformation that comes out of AI.
Hmm.
And in the beginning, you could kind of tell AI from uh, factual images and posts, but now you really can't. I mean, they've gotten very sophisticated,
Right.
and not only elections, but just general life things when you can't tell what's the truth. Um, I use AI to make funny birthday cards,
Okay. Sure.
just
Yeah.
silly images
Uh-huh.
to
Uh-huh.
send to family and friends.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. I think, because everybody knows they're not real.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But
You're,
it's
yeah.
AI is very concerning. I mean, it's already displacing people out of jobs.
Hmm.
And as more and more people lose jobs, that's great for corporations who don't have to, pay people those salaries. But
Yeah.
people then have to find jobs that haven't been eliminated. So I think it's going to become more and more of a problem.
Yeah. Yes. Well, thanks, Cynthia. You brought up a lot of things there, including the birthday cards. I'd love to see some of those, but they're pretty humorous. But yeah, the so the data centers is a concern, and there's trade-offs, of course. Communities are sort of having to kind of think about. On the one hand, they bring a lot of initial investment to build these things. It can be billions of dollars that go into the community. And then, of course, they do produce jobs, although data centers actually don't produce that many jobs long term. They don't need that many people to really run them. So there's that initial upfront investment, but then there are long-term costs. The data centers themselves, of course, really consume a lot of electricity from the community. I think the latest estimate is that by 2030, data centers in this country are going to consume somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 15% of all the electricity in the country. I think now it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 6%. So that's a big deal. And then that means the community has to sort of figure out how do we produce more electricity and how do we, all of these concerns. So yeah, that's a great issue to raise. So thanks for doing that. Okay, Barbara, go ahead. You're on mute, Barbara.
Oh,
There you
okay.
go.
All right.
Yep.
I've been very interested recently in the implications for people learning how to think. And I come to this because I'm a retired professor. I taught law for many years. Excuse me. And of course, I was teaching all my students how to research the law. And I've been using AI recently just to research on my own. I mean, what I'm doing is using it as a shortcut, um, just to see what it was like to do a research project to try and find out what the law is by using an artificial intelligence instead of all the skills I had learned about researching, which involved going and finding out what the law was in a particular jurisdiction and looking it up. And it would have taken me, I discovered that I could do things in 5 minutes that would have taken me weeks, literally weeks, to accomplish
Yeah.
using tools that I had before. And so I've gotten actually, and I've been talking about this with my brother, who's a scientist. We've been talking about how having access to AI affects your thinking, your ability to think, and your ability to learn how to think. Um, in my own experience with AI, I have found that I can really get to the truth and the reality by asking a lot of follow-up questions. Um, and if you know what follow-up questions to ask, you can keep on pushing until you catch any bias, or you reveal any, what you get to the bottom of what you're trying to research. And I'm very concerned that young people today, if they just use the AI, will lose that ability to actually critically interrogate the facts so that you can come to a conclusion about what the truth is. That sounds awfully abstract, but when you're teaching, obviously a lot of people worry about losing their profession because the AI will learn to do it so well. I don't think that AI will ever accomplish that, but I think that it might accomplish a lot of dumbing down of the rest of us, of the people of us, the human beings, I guess I should say.
Yeah. No, these are huge and very important points, Barbara. How AI will change not just education, but thinking. I can recall, being a child and sort of asking myself, why am I learning all this math? Even then I had a notion that I wasn't going to use it in my profession, but of course the answer was you're learning how to think. Um, but when AI is, to your point, can do something in 5 minutes that would have taken 5 weeks, it becomes harder and harder to justify, you know, expending all that intellectual effort. So the question, I guess, becomes what sort of human capacities are we have to protect, and which can we sort of surrender in a way? But those questions are going to have to be worked through, no doubt. Thanks for raising that. Go ahead, Peter. You're muted, Peter.
Uh, I represent the Center for Global Dialogue, and our intent is to increase communication between people on on significant issues. But I saw the title as a provocative one that would possibly lead us to making use of AI as a way of creating a public square that's much larger than we have otherwise done, uh, and allowing people to have, as you suggest, a voice in the development of policy. I don't do this uh, without due consideration to the myriad of issues that have already been raised. Um, and so, before we get to that point where it can be actually a useful thing for us in which to create a public square, we'd have to cope with some of the liabilities or potential liabilities of AI. But I see it as potentially really useful.
Can you expand on that? Because I guess you're the first voice so far that has said that's been the pro AI sort of. What can you tell us a little bit more?
Um, well, I'm always I think as human beings we have a tendency to see the next generation of technology as potentially uh, imposing difficulties for us. And I support that idea, but I'm urging just a word of caution that says maybe it can be useful, not with any sort of pie in the sky attitude. Just before we condemn it, let's see if it can work in support of the goals that we each for various reasons have. So
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I mean, I certainly use AI a lot in my life. It's simplified a lot of my tasks. There's different types of AI. It's one thing, maybe this would be useful to just put out there. There's what we're talking about in terms of chat GPT and chatbots is sort of generative AI where you ask it a question or you give it a prompt and then it provides you with sort of answers to what you've asked. what I've seen lately, and I'd be interested to hear from others about this, is that we've started to move toward a more of a AI agents, and what I mean by that is AI that actually has agency. In other words, that AI that functions without you asking it a question, where you give AI sort of a large remit in your life to carry out tasks as it sees fit. Maybe not walk the dog yet, but you know what I mean. So, and that sort of is moving into more autonomous sort of realms for AI and raises, I think, some pretty interesting questions. I saw somebody in the chat talking about militaries as well. So, but yeah, Peter, thanks for raising that. I mean, obviously, there are benefits, or we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. We would just stop it. But there are benefits, and so that sort of pros and cons
I
is a really
think the benefits would depend largely on the reinstitution of norms as a value in our society. We seem in recent past at least to have diminished the role played by norms and relied exclusively on the law. Um, so we don't really trust each other. And as a consequence, we're not going to trust AI. So
Mm.
before AI, I think can be really helpful to us is we have to find our way back to a time um, when social norms and human trusts actually had value.
That's fascinating, Peter. What wouldn't that be interesting if that was sort of a consequence of the adoption of AI as a reversion to us kind of valuing those norms even more? Very, very
Yeah.
cool.
Which I
Fascinating.
think is at the core of what you're doing, Liam, with the O'Connor Center. Um, Finding a way of creating civic values, civic understanding, where um, where normative values actually have, first of all, there's an awareness of the fragility of our system, dependent on our engagement in that system, which results in a set of norms where actually we come to trust each other a little.
Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. Thanks, Peter. Thanks for sharing that. Good food for discussion. Cynthia, go ahead. Yeah. I see a lot going on in the chat too, and I'm because I'm moderating, I can't read all of it, but it looks like there's a lot happening there. If anybody wants to sort of raise their hand and sort of say what they put in the chat out loud, that would be helpful too, if you want. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Um, I think AI is a technology where we need to be aware now of how it might not only help society, but also be a problem for society. I mean, it's developing so fast that its capabilities and the places it's and situations where it's being used. Um, I don't think, well, I don't know, that, someday it might take over society and decide that we're extraneous. But also, our brains need challenge. And one of the things that worries me a bit is that we will start to depend on AI too much for our own thinking.
Sure.
We instead of researching and really having to dig for knowledge, um, we just ask AI and it does our thinking for us. And
Yeah.
yeah, we look at the information and we say, yes, well, that answers my question. But if we had had to really work for the information, it might have benefited our brain much more.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great point, Cynthia. And yeah, certainly I think we've all had that experience where we have a question and we're trying to research the answer. And on the way to getting that answer, we learn like 15 other things, right? And so there's all these sort of knock-on effects of having to think, right? Like and having to dig and so yeah, the question, I mean, you can see sort of a sci-fi future where, kind of like H.G. Wells and the Time Machine, where we're all just sort of like, at the mercy of these machines as we sort of just lounge around and eat grapes. And I hope we don't get to that place, but you can see that potentially, to a lesser degree happening where we sort of start to lose some of those capacities. Whether or not we build other ones to replace them, I guess, is a good question. I'd be interested to hear what others think about how this relates to past technological change. Because I know, for example, if you can recall, this is a long time ago now, but when Google started and search engines were coming around, right? People said sort of the same kind of thing, right? Like this is just going to provide you all the information you need without having to dig, and you don't have to go to the card catalog anymore, things like that. So, I mean, how do people see this as kind of AI is relating to past technological upheavals and be interested to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking of Hal in 2001 Space Odyssey,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and he was supposed to be there to help.
Right, right. Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
that's just a thought.
Yeah. And it's funny, and Barbara, we'll go to you just a second. And I think, more and more, right, reading some of those really great science fiction writers is so instructive how predictive they were of where we are now. It's really quite interesting. But thanks, Cynthia. Go ahead, Barbara. You're on mute, Barbara.
Excuse me. Um, in terms of the what's happened in the past with the development of a new technology, and this I think also relates to what I can't remember his name, but he was saying about needing norms and
Mm,
having norms that are established. Every time we've had a major breakthrough in technology, be it printing, the invention of printing, or electricity, various other things that have just really been hugely a huge change in the way people live. We've had to develop rules and regulations. And what I was thinking about particularly was the foundation of the United States of America, which was really the first democracy. And we had to figure out how to have a conversation without beating each other up, And we take for granted now all those rules about who gets to speak for how long and what are you allowed to say and what are the things that are not part of the conversation because they would create they would make it harder to come to a solution rather than being a vehicle for us to come to a solution. So we've got to have rules, and the idea that artificial intelligence can be a free for all, I think, just would go contrary to the whole history of how we've responded to huge changes.
yeah. No, that's
Like
great. Go ahead.
unions when we got the Industrial Revolution.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think sometimes we, at the outset of any technological change, there's a lot of fear of that change. Sometimes we do underestimate our capacity as humans and societies to evolve and adapt. I mean, there's fits and starts for sure, but, historically we've seen that we have evolved and we haven't adapted. I guess it's up for debate whether all of that evolution and adaptation has been beneficial, but nonetheless, it has happened. So, thanks for raising that, Barbara. Yeah. Go ahead, Tanisha.
Hi. So you were talking about what makes a difference from the changes that were presented before, like,
Right.
technology changing. And I think we were looking forward to things. Even with Google, there was a lot of information on the benefits of. And I feel with data centers, I'm in South Jersey. Somebody in the comment had wrote it that she's from South Jersey too.
Mm,
And our first data center is being constructed on farmland, and it's
mm,
being constructed against the community's will. We have
mm.
attended the planning meetings, they snuck it on us. So here's my
That's
thing.
me,
If it was
Tanisha,
so
and
good for
Violent.
us, excuse
That's, I'm
me?
sorry,
Yeah, I'm from Violent. I see Minerva, you muted yourself again.
I voted for you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
good. Civic
so
engagement.
I am a Violent resident, and by the time I found out about the data center being built in my town, phase one was done. The foundation was done. And
Interesting.
I admit that I wasn't totally involved in going to city meetings, but people that were going to city meetings, they also did not know because
Mm,
it came to us as a guise that it was attached to a public golf course that was going to be made.
mm.
So my issue with the data centers are you're not telling us what the benefits what are the benefits to us as the residents. Like you said, it's producing jobs at the moment. Those jobs are not going to last, and in
Mhm.
our reality those jobs didn't even go to our local people. They didn't even hire our local unions to do it. This is multi-million dollar people and agencies and other places picked
Yep.
our ground, and
Yep.
our city officials sold us out. They
Yep.
pretty much sold us
Interesting.
out and they're building.
Yeah.
So all we're asking for is if you're going to try to do what you're doing, let us know what it is you're doing. What is it going to cost us? Our electricity is already up. They're
Mm,
taking our farmland. I just went to the last meeting and they gave us the actual Data One people gave us this brochure, and they're trying to sell us these giga farms where they
mm,
are producing fruits. We're known for growing. We are a farm country. So how are you trying to sell me something that we could already make?
hmm.
So it goes back to when we were talking about those norms. Who do you trust? We don't
Sure.
trust anybody. How are we going to go back to norms? You've been lying to us up until now, and it does not seem well. And I'm so sorry. I'm at work, so I'm going to have to like pause on that. Somebody could pick it up,
No
Minerva,
doubt.
please.
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, no, thanks, Tanisha. No, those are good questions to raise. And Minerva, we'll get to you in just one second. But yeah, I wanted to, yeah, provide a little bit of context there because that's happening all across the country right now. We're seeing that more and more. I just read an article the other day about Texas and how it's changing sort of the political landscape in Texas because these local communities are sort of getting pretty a little agitated about what's been happening with these data centers. I know where I live in Arizona, it's a huge issue too. There are benefits, but yes, I think people are right to say to whom do the majority of benefits accrue? So good questions asked. Go ahead, Minerva.
Hi, and I apologize again for interrupting Tanisha. Just got so excited.
Yeah, no, it's good.
There's,
Excitement's great.
she's talking about the same city that I alarmed about, uh,
Hmm.
and it's true. I was born and raised in Vineland, New Jersey, and out here it's all farms. It's not like North Jersey. It's not New
Yeah,
York City.
yeah.
Everyone thinks it is, but it isn't. And it's adjacent to farmland. I'm still in shock. And it's adjacent to people that residential areas where I know people who have homes out there.
Hmm.
Um, my concern is that we didn't know about it. It kind of was slipped under the rug. And
Yeah.
by the time we did know about it, it was because they were already constructing phase one
Mm,
and people were up all night because of the noise.
mm.
So my
Yeah.
concern is I don't live in Vineland now. I live in a neighboring city in our county, but my concern is that this of the location of this place, the fact that city council approved for them to do stuff without letting the public know. And I still can't believe it's in a residential area. Like people live nearby and they're not being heard. And I thank you for this forum and this opportunity because we have to step up and speak out.
Yeah, well, thank you, Minerva, for talking about that. Yeah, it's interesting. Again, this has just been something that we've seen sort of across the country. Are these concerns about data centers being built, in places that, like you were saying, farmland or things like this? I think one issue that you're raising there is just what I'm hearing you say is that, you don't mind the debate happening about whether they should be built or how they should be built, as long as that debate happens. I guess what I heard from you and also Tanisha was that you felt as if these construction projects were being sort of slipped sort of under the rug, and that's problematic, of course. From a public policy standpoint, the title of this discussion that we're having right now is who gets a say. And so everybody really has to kind of get a say, I would think, in order for everybody to have buy-in on these things. Yeah, does anybody else have anything they want to say about the data centers? It's become a big issue in the news. I see it in the national press almost every day, something going on with data centers. Tanisha, you're back. Do you have anything you want to say? You want to?
No, I kind of didn't get to listen to see who followed up and what. I actually happen to be a nurse, so I had to take care of a boo-boo.
Okay.
There's summer camp going on. I just, like I said, I just think a lot of the main differences is that there is hidden agendas behind the scene,
Okay.
and that it's not benefiting the actual workers. And if it was something that was good, they would have included us in the process. And we're
Mm.
not being included. We have to beg for information. Like you said, I did hear we have a Sustain South Jersey. We have a group who's gotten lawyers, and we are showing up in numbers at every meeting across the board. We even have a they have a stop construction order going on right now.
Okay.
So,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm hoping that holds up for as long as it does, but we know that half of the building's already built. There's things like LNG gas, things that are putting people at risk. I drove around it. There are houses literally right on the other. Like, if something was to happen to that building, people are going to get hurt. And I
Yeah.
don't understand why we have to wait. And they're making too many promises with first time stuff. This is the largest of its size. They're using products that they've never used before. We've even gone as far as to look at the cells that they're using. There's only one producer of these cells. So you have all these acres, this humongous thing. What if the people that make your cells go out of business? Now we're stuck with a concrete slab in a big old warehouse. What are we doing?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for raising all these points. I mean, it's really instructive because I think for a lot of us, we read the news and we read these stories from around the country, but to hear on the public square the actual people who are affected by it, and what I hear you saying is include us. We have to all be included in this process. So thanks for raising all that, Tanisha. Go ahead, Peter. You're muted, Peter. I'm not sure if you.
Keep forgetting to
That's okay.
that thing. I think Tanisha is exactly right. This is not the way to build trust. By subterfuge and backdoor dealing with the public. It's got to be open, or it's just not going to work. And I think Barbara's point is well taken. That this is going to have to be regulated, and we have to, once again, in a public setting, have to come together with ideas for what kinds of regulations are going to be actually effective and helpful, and what kinds are going to be, potentially obstructive. Um, and it's a complicated mess. Democracy is a complicated mess. Um,
Right.
but it's just a whole lot better than anything else out there.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Peter. Thanks for bringing that back to the norms that you were talking about earlier. I think one thing that's kind of come out of this conversation so far is it sounds like people are not necessarily fully on board or opposed to AI, but what I'm hearing from everyone is that there needs to be everyone needs to be involved in the decisions that are made, and that really does get back to what a lot of people have said about bringing it back to the country and our history and how we make decisions. And Peter, to your point, it is more complicated to make decisions that way. However, I think our history may show that making decisions in that complicated way where everybody's voice is heard and it takes longer, et cetera, those decisions tend to be a little bit more durable than what Tanisha and Minerva are describing as this sort of quick get something done without the community's buy-in. And then, you may find that there are, ramifications to doing things that way. So yeah. Does anyone have anything else on that point?
I think we have a love-hate relationship with we love democracy, but we don't love how it works. It requires patience. It requires agony and listening to other people, and we're just not very patient.
Yes, I think that's a point well taken, Peter. Thank you. Um, Anyone else have anything? If not, let's pull up the slides again, if you don't mind, Amelia. Amelia is our is in the background coordinating all the technical aspects because I can't do two things at once. Maybe AI can help me at some point. So here was what we polled people on our app about this. We wanted to know, where they stood on AI's biggest, impact on civic life. So you can see here that this was the responses. It looks like most people were concerned about misinformation and the deep fakes and that sort of thing. the digital divide leaving some communities behind. We didn't ask specifically about what we've heard so much in this call, though, about construction and things like that, electricity usage, the effect on communities of the actual infrastructure required. But that's what I heard in this public square was that a lot of people had concerns. So anyway, thought you'd be interested to see that. Okay, let's go to the next slide. And these are our sponsors. We always want to thank them. But really, I want to thank you all for such a great conversation today. I learned a lot. I hope you did too. Make sure that you download that app and keep engaging with us. We've got lots of things, really cool things planned, especially as we're about to gear up for the new school year. So keep your eyes peeled. We have some really cool research that we're in the process of developing that I think you guys might find interesting. But in any event, thanks, and we'll see you on the next one. All right. Bye.